board meeting.
We do have a
at
quorum, barely.
City Hall,
Oh.
Tuesday, April 26, 2022 at 4 p.m.
Mr. Chair, make sure you have your mic on.
Up.
Pointed in the wrong direction.
Is it? It's on, but she's up.
He's got it.
Can you hear me now? All right. And so we will start off with the roll call.
Tim Boder, Kara Schaefer, Andrew Scheib,
Here.
Kevin Yeager,
Yes.
Troy Rushmeyer.
Yes.
Just as a point of order, Kara Schaefer is running just a few minutes late.
Okay, thank you. And let's follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, having hopefully read the minutes, do we have an approval of the agenda or any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to propose that we move the public forum to item 6A, just to give the fine folks here, I'm assuming they're all here for the same reason, chance to speak and not have to listen to, well, not have to listen by choice to the riveting action that happens here at the park board meetings on a month-to-month basis. So that's what I would suggest, sir.
Okay.
Second shape.
Motion and a second. Before we vote, you guys okay with that? Just get right into it? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and motion carries. All right, we have approval. No, we do not. We need approval of the agenda, the minutes, disbursements. Yes. We have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Okay.
Second shape.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. So, Kara, we're on our last item.
Four.
Early. We moved open forum up to the top of the agenda. So with that being said, I think what we'll do is turn the floor over to you guys and hear what you have to say. And then we'll respond afterwards, okay?
I'll get the microphone on for you here, Stacy.
Push that button right there.
Okay. My name is Stacy Harding, and I live at 14813 Wonderland Park Road, Brainerd, Minnesota. These fine folks all live on Wonderland Park Road, so they're all lakeshore owners. Basically, for the new board member Andrew, we just wanted to let you know that where this whole ski loon neighbors thing started. So about 5 years ago, they came to Wayne and said, we want to do one show and one practice. And we want to put on the ski show. And Wayne's like, great, let's do it. Go right ahead. And that has now morphed into 4 shows a year, which we have no problem with the shows, but 4 practices every night from 6 p.m. to dusk, Memorial Day past Labor Day. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or approximately, as Wayne pointed out, 58% of our summer is practices. So it grew bigger. The practices were scattered the weekdays all summer long. Got to the point of 150 times past our dock every week with the skiers and the boats. And everyone in the room can testify how 2 years ago during COVID, when there was no practice, it was absolutely beautiful. In fact, our one neighbors that were unable to make it here tonight, the Shepners, actually bought their house that summer. And they're like, what are you talking about? We were like, wait. So last month, I got to back up. Last year, from the very first night of practice, there were issues of passes between our trampoline and the dock. Special practice was on a Saturday, a verbal altercation with a neighbor trying to fish with the ski loons. They had a special meeting, and that's when Julie and Wayne were here, and the ski loons were all here, and it made the Brainerd paper to talk about what happened. And originally, when the contract was signed 4 years ago, it was 2 years, or 2 nights of learn to ski, 2 nights of ski loons. Well, we had found out in that meeting last year that they dropped the learn to ski, so it's just 4 nights of ski loons. Of practice. So it's 2 nights of the ski loons and 2 nights of learn to ski. Now it's 4 nights of ski loon practice. So they just dropped the learn to ski without talking to anybody about that. And then they did that one on the Saturday for 8 hours, and that's when all the hoopla and everything happened last year. So last month, you, as a board, agreed with the ski loons to renew their contract for the 4 nights. You know, we were upset because we've been waiting and watching the agenda, thinking it was going to come in April, like it did the year before, and it was brought to you guys in February, which the meeting was canceled. Disappointment, upset that no one thought to call us, knowing what happened last year. Disappointment, the fact that we listened to the parks meeting and no one said, hey, anybody talk to the neighbors? Hey, anybody, you know, nothing was said, which leads us to here today. Basically, what upsets us is that all summer long, 4 nights a week. 4 nights a week, all summer long, from 6 p.m. to dusk. This is going on in front of our house. And in Section A of your own agreement, it says that it will have adverse effect on lakeshore owners. And we're saying we've had enough, and it is expect us to deal with the Wisconsin Dells atmosphere 4 nights a week from Memorial Day to Labor Day is too much. You are allowing the use of the dock on your property, which is the root cause of the problem. Some compromise on the number of days these practices are held need to be made and are reduced, if not totally moved, to another body of water, as Section G of your agreement states, to use other lakes. You would not appreciate this activity in front of your yards all summer, nor would any of the ski loon members who live on a lake themselves, because they're not going to their lakes. And the fact that we have grandchildren, family, and friends that don't come to our homes to use the lake because they don't want to have to deal with the traffic and the waves the skiers create is unacceptable any longer. These effects are affecting our shorelines, creating floating weeds that need to be cleaned up, and some would even claim affect the fish and wildlife in front of our homes. There are many studies right now on the effects of wakeboard boats on small bodies of water, and I can assure you a dual motor ski boat pulling a dozen skiers is not any better. We keep hearing a common theme from the Parks Board members. We have no control over the water. And I quote, "The lease with the loons is strictly related to their use of the city boathouse for storage and public use of the ski loon's own dock during the times it is not being used. There is nothing that prohibits the city from making these type of arrangements." And it's, you do have control of the water, and you do have control of the dock and control of the boathouse. In your sections E, F, and G of the contract, E, it states that they have the 4 shows during the terms of this agreement. The ski loon shall endeavor to maintain a safe distance from private docks and other users of public waters. Private property owners shall be allowed adequate time to leave their docks, return to their docks, and to position their boats on their boat list before the ski loons make a pass causing waves. So you're controlling the water in your contract. The ski loon shall endeavor to pull skiers from the dock perpendicular to the shoreline and away from private properties when it is feasible with the acts they are practicing. This shall not apply during the shows, at which time the ski loons may pull all the skiers' acts along the shoreline to allow the audience in Lum Park to view the routines. You're controlling the water in your contract. The ski loon shall endeavor to use other lakes or water bodies for small groups or to move to the middle of Rice Lake whenever reasonable possible. You're controlling the water, which you have told us you can't control the water, but you do in your contract that they have signed. We want the park board to do the right thing and not allow 4 nights of practice on our small lake, river, and forcing them to utilize other lakes for practices as they have managed to have other shows on Rutgers Bay Lake and at Cragun's on Gull Lake without the dock or the jump. So they are on other lakes. We want this to be fixed And so the neighbors and us can go back to enjoying the quiet lake where we purchased our property on. I think we have been more than accommodating since the ski loon show started, the one show and a few nights of practice the first year to what is now morphed into today. We feel we're being taken advantage of by limiting our own use of the lake 4 days a week. We have 10,000 lakes. Rice Lake can't be the only one to practice on. In closing, there is nothing that prohibits the city from doing the right thing and reducing the activity on our small lake either. We would like to see the agreement reviewed and modified for this year's season and reduce the days that they can use the dock on Rice Lake by the ski loons. Members of the City Council have confirmed that this is an issue that can be addressed by the Parks Board and that they are responsible for resolving our concerns as neighboring properties. We would like to see the contract brought back and reviewed with all of us here, because we will ask for no more than 2 nights a week of practice. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Stacy. I have a response to this, but does anyone else have any comments before we? No? Okay. So, thank you. And I would just like to say, I apologize that you weren't informed, but I will say, as was everyone else here, not hearing from you guys, because we had heard from you so much over the last few years, we really assumed that you guys had kind of worked it out last year after that meeting in the middle of the summer. So we didn't hear anything else the rest of the summer. We didn't hear anything this spring. And, you know, I don't think any of us looked at it and said, oh, we're moving that contract up a few months. That was not intentional, to make sure that you guys couldn't be here and we were trying to slip something under the table. It just wasn't, you know. So unfortunately, we had the meeting, and sometimes if the mean dog is sleeping, or however you want to call it, not saying you're the mean dog, but it could go either way. We're just kind of assuming that, you know, because we kind of put the onus back on, like, you guys please try to work this out. And so, to be honest with you, at least from my standpoint, and I think I speak for the rest of these guys, is we just figured that you guys had discussions and things had been worked out. And in the meantime, I had asked Paul, after some of the emails that went back and forth just in the last couple of weeks, to talk to if he would address the city attorney to see if we can even do anything with the contract. And unless there's a violation, we really can't, because then it puts us in violation of the contract. So if something happens, so I will say this, I did charge that group, and when we seen that group last year and seeing how big that has gotten, and, you know, to me, that's also a good thing. That's a sign that, you know, a lot of kids have gotten involved and a lot of kids are doing something and people enjoy the shows. But I also understand that, you know, unfortunately, that growing has caused obviously a rift that we all know about. But I just have to put it up as an oversight on our part, and I can't apologize enough to say, you know, if I'd known that there was an issue that you guys wanted days reduced, I would have said, well, let's put this on hold until we can get a hold of the landowners and get them in here so we can have this discussion. But so nothing was done on purpose to leave you guys out of that discussion.
I don't think, I'm not accusing anybody of that.
Okay.
But there was plenty of violations last year, and nothing was reduced then either. So if you were looking for them to do something, we had our chance last year when they showed up on different days, they were going in between the dock. The things you just said, you had a chance to do last year, nothing happened.
Yeah. And again, you know, towards, I don't remember what part of the summer that was, July. So, you know, summer's kind of winding down, kind of hoping that things would, you know, work out, because it had all the way through that, and the year prior to that, you guys
They didn't have anything.
didn't have any problems,
They
right?
didn't show up, that's what was the deal.
Oh, right,
So they didn't
okay.
go docking.
Yeah, but, so, yeah, I think, I don't know that we can go back and change that contract now, unless there's something brought to our attention where there's a violation of the contract on their part. Unfortunately.
Well, we just, I mean, we're gonna use our lake.
If
and
they're
you're
gonna talk, they should go up to the mic so we
It's
can.
just, we plan on using our lake this year, and there's gonna be phone calls. They're gonna call because we're gonna be out there in our kayaks and our paddle boards, trying to use the lake, which we had said, we'd love to invite you guys to come over and try to use the paddle boards or try to use the kayaks with those boats going by. But we're gonna use our lake. We're gonna put in our trampolines. We're gonna have our kids over. You're gonna get phone calls. They're not gonna be happy with us because we are taking our lake back this year. Plain and simple.
Okay. Thank you. With that, I don't know that we have any other comments that we can address this with.
We appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
I have questions. I do have questions. I'm a new homeowner. I'm Diane Treader. I bought a cabin on there through a private party, so I did not know the loons were practicing on this lake. Was not disclosed to me. So my question number one is, I've not seen the contract. Can they practice on another lake? Yes or no?
They can practice wherever they want. As far,
Okay.
I mean,
So their
we don't
contract
control
is
that.
okay, but they specifically have a contract to practice on Rice Lake 4 nights a week. Yes or no?
To use the docks and to use the ramp, which that's in the water. So to
I
use the
specific-
facility at the shoreline, they do
Yeah.
have a contract for that.
Okay. I specifically bought this property because I have grandchildren who live close by and who would like to come over. And I bought this because it's beautiful sandy beach. Beautiful. So my grandkids can come over when they're done with after school or after daycare, when mom's done working, right? And then I found out they can't because they're practicing and the waves are so thick. And my 7-year-old granddaughter who's really good at swimming, you can't go beyond the dock because they're there. So now I bought this very nice piece of property, but my grandkids can't come over and play. So there's no way we could go and ask the ski loons to please practice 2 nights a week somewhere else. There's no way the city, there's no way your board could go say, the homeowners are upset, could you please practice on a different lake? There's no way you could go back and ask
Not
them
to say
that?
we can't ask them, but I
Well,
will
it's-
say they can't, they don't have to change what we have agreed to on the contract, unless there's a violation. That's the only thing that we can do is if there's a violation, and then relook at the contract.
Okay, and this
Can we ask
contract,
them? Sure. I don't think that they're gonna agree to that, but
okay. Do you live on a lake, sir?
I do not.
Do any of you live on a lake? I'm just curious if you would like that, if you would like your children or your grandchildren having to deal with that every night, all summer long, when we have a very short summer. How long is this contract good for?
Till the end of this season.
Through this season? So then, do you promise that next year this will be brought up?
We will
To the
send out.
homeowners?
We will send out, before the contract is signed, we will send out, technically, we don't have to, but we will.
Okay.
We'll-
Thank you.
I won't be president then, someone will. but-
Well, we just asked that, or if it could be published that it's going
It
to
goes
be.
until April 2023, April 30th, 2023.
Okay,
Oh, does it?
Yep.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
And the contract will be looked at prior to, I think it says March 30th. And that's the reason why we brought it forward. In the contract, it says that this shall be reviewed before March 30th of each year. So that it will happen before March 30th. Yep. Yep.
Thanks, guys. That will move us into unfinished business.
You're still in public forum. You're still in public forum.
Okay. Do we have a motion to close public forum?
Does anyone else want to talk here? Nobody else wants to talk, right?
You have a motion?
Call 3 times and close it.
Okay. That's That's twice. Anyone else here for public forum? No. We're gonna move on to 6A, which would be now 6B, approve campground host hiring and contract. Is that you, Paul?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, well, this is mostly Kim's item, but I'll just do a brief overview. Kim, after we received authorization to move forward with filling the campground host position with the city, well, it's not a city position, it's an unpaid position, but as soon as we got that authorization, Kim did put it out in the paper and a couple other locations. We did receive 2 inquiries from people. Kim performed some interviews of both candidates, and she found that they were both very qualified, able to do the position. Kim's recommendation is that the park board enter into an agreement with William and Teresa Kelm. They are lifelong Brainerd residents. They've stayed at a campground, enthusiastic about staying the park season, and they're treating this as kind of like a trial run to selling their home and being in their camper throughout the year. And so they're perfect candidates in that respect. Then they live in Northeast Brainerd, I think. So close to home still and able to still visit home if they need to during the day, but still perform all the duties as are in the campground host contract. We had the city attorney write that contract up. It's pretty simple. It goes over the duties. It goes over the term. It kind of goes over what we will give the host in return, internet, electricity, utilities, that kind of thing for their camper. If the park board is in agreement with that, we would just ask that you guys direct us to enter in that agreement with the host couple. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Paul. Kim, do you have anything to add to that?
Just one thing, they are already doing their job, and they're not even there yet. They were there at the park with their grandkids on Sunday and saw a camper up there, and there wasn't a tag, so they called me on Monday morning. I thought, oh, good.
Any discussion from any of you? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I just have a question for staff. Has this contract been signed and executed yet, the one that we're looking at? Okay, got it. So my only continuing thought here is some language regarding what the campground host site will look like, especially regarding storage of items, household items, or that type of thing, in my opinion, is the only thing missing from here. This is just coming from where we came from in the past. I'd like for that campground host to look a certain way from the grounds management side. Other than that, I'm super excited about this. Great work on how we're getting to this point, and everything else looks good to me other than that. So that's just my thought anyways. Thank you.
Thank you. Kara?
That's all I was going to say too, was just making sure that there are some rules for what their space has to look like.
We can add that language or have the city attorney draft something.
Hypothetically, it's already in our ordinance, but I mean, it's just a matter of maintaining that level of maintenance to me. But yeah, absolutely. Looks good though.
Andrew, any comments?
No, looks great. Nice job, Kim.
So does someone want to make a motion with the addition, a revision concerning the campground site?
Yeah, I would just make a contingent on those things being added.
Okay,
I can make a motion, Mr. President.
okay, we have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the contract as written with the changes noted in the previous conversation regarding maintenance of campground host area, and make a motion to accept the proposal by our applicant for the upcoming season.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None being heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Paul. Thanks, guys. We'll move on to the bids for MLT Park. Director Sandy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We can tag team this with Matt if he wants to. You can go up to the podium, Matt, if we have any other questions. We got 2 bids in for our Mississippi Landing Trailhead Park. That was from Custom Builders, Inc. and Linco, Inc. The total bid costs are attached in that bid summary. Basically, the low bid cost with both alternates added in was $2,373,000 and some change, and then 3.66 and some change, respectively with those two firms. Our engineer's estimate, or WSB's engineer's estimate, was right around 2.8 million. So very favorable bids, which did bring into question, was the contractor looking at the plans right? Was there did they do a cursory review and really get into the weeds of the plans and make sure they understand what we're expecting? WSB did, verify that Custom Builders was talking to them often, asking a lot of questions, really trying to understand the plans. That being said, the low bid is 15.8% under the engineer's estimate. So this is kind of broken out in two different ways, being that the roadway improvements are within the city right-of-way and under the purview of the city council. There are, $517,618 in roadway costs in that bid. And so really the park board is looking at the park board for the park itself with the plans that are designed are looking at a bid of 1.856 million and some change, which is substantially lower than the 2.85 million that the park board received for this project from LCCMR. With all that said, with WSB's fees, with the low bid from Custom Builders, with the tree clearing package that you guys approved earlier this year, after the project is constructed, plus like a 10% contingency, just to hold that in case there's change orders or changes that come through, we're looking at possibly an amount of around $560,000 left after the park is constructed. So the PMT did meet. We discussed, kind of the plan moving forward with this. There's some ongoing talk with the market volatility and guaranteed pricing that I think WSB will continue to work through with the contractor. But also there's some ongoing conversations with the DNR over the canoe kayak launch, over what will be permitted. So there's some items out there that are still a little bit gray. However, we do have quite a bit of money left. And so that is a good situation to be in. Well, what the PMT recommended is that we move forward with Custom Builders, construct the improvements as designed, and then see what's left at the end of the project for potential, enhancements to things. What can we do to use those funds up? Being that the funds don't have to be spent until 2024, so we have some time. Let's do the park as designed. Let's do what the PMT has been working on, and then see what's left over at the end of the day after everything's been done. So that is the recommendation from the PMT, is to award the contract to Custom Builders. Total contract amount of $2,373,647.97. That, of course, will be contingent upon the city council approving the East River Road improvements also at their next council meeting, which that is on the agenda. So that's really all I have. If there's questions, we can answer those now or tag team those unless Matt has anything else to say.
No, I didn't have anything to add to that, just if there were any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Director Sandy. Any questions, you guys?
Yeah, I'm just curious, because the pricing and stuff, it seems awesome that we're under budget, but like, it's crazy because everything else we've been trying to build is like double in price. So is this like, you guys have
Yeah, I
sweet
think,
hookup?
I think one of the factors was that the canoe landing got pulled out with an addendum at the last minute, so that was included in our cost estimate, but not in the bid price. And then Custom Builders was really excited about getting a job in this area for some reason, so they went after it pretty aggressively.
One of the other things that got brought up at the PMT meeting is Custom Builders provides their own flat work crews, and there's a lot of concrete involved in this project. So they're not paying a subcontractor to come in and giving a 10% markup to do that work, and they're using all their own crews to do what a majority of the project is the surfacing, the concrete, the colored concrete, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's
huge. This project was really well suited for Custom Builders, so that's why it helped come in pretty low. The precast building for the restrooms and stuff, we've been talking with Custom Builders, and there's some issues with getting that on time, but I mean, we can't do anything officially with them yet because the contract's not awarded, but that's one thing that might change a little bit. But we have extra money on this right now that we'll be able to handle anything that comes up with that.
We left a few trees down by the river.
Yep.
And the timing is that we might not see those bathrooms until like December. And so that, obviously, I think Bob said we would plumb those in and get them ready to go, but the building itself might not be delivered until, mid-December, which then you're looking at a spring install date.
So I'm assuming that has nothing to do with custom builders, that's the
That's just
supplier.
That's one of
procurement
the
of supplies.
supply
Yep.
issues.
So where's Custom Builders out of? Oh, Sac Center. I tried to Google them, but it just kept coming up as Custom Homes. Okay. Sac Center. Okay. Cool.
Any other questions or concerns? I just want to verify, so what we're looking at is all the alternates are in on this.
Yep.
Yeah,
We're
we'd
still,
recommend,
with the alternates, we're still $500,000 under budget, correct?
correct.
Katie?
I just want Paul to clarify something real quick. So if we're under budget, that money needs to be used that isn't used what year by?
Yep, so we have until 2024 to use LCCMR funds. However, anything we add additional or anything that is enhanced on a building has to be approved by LCCMR Commission. And so we can't just go and add a building or do whatever we want with that $500-some thousand. It has to be brought forward to LCCMR. They have to look at it and approve the use of those funds for that purpose.
I have no questions. I think it's fantastic. So unless we have any other comments or questions, I would ask for a motion one way or the other.
I'll make a motion to execute the contract as received from Custom Builders and move forward as quickly as possible.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Can we just make sure that states that it's base bid plus alternate 1 and alternate 2?
I will amend my motion to include base bid plus A1, A2.
Second, Shape.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None being heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, guys. Exciting,
It's really cool.
super exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's cool. So let's move on to the next agenda item, approve field maintenance agreements with BBBA and BBB. A lot of BBs in here. And this, Director Sandy as well?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So it was a while ago, both Brainerd Baxter Baseball Association and the Brainerd Bees wanted to enter into some sort of agreement that could be in place to utilize the city's field maintenance equipment on tournament weekends and things like that to help reduce their costs as it relates to having a city maintenance employee at those fields or just being able to help out that employee when he is there to get things done quicker, get games going faster. So the city attorney has drafted these two agreements. They're left, pretty broad, just kind of, for a reason. It just basically says that, these two organizations can use the city-owned equipment, field groomers, walk-behind mowers, riding lawn mowers, handheld blowers, weed whips, that kind of stuff, on those weekends, and that basically they're going to hold the city harmless against anything that could happen in the use of that stuff. And so it's pretty simple, pretty quick agreements that the attorney put together. There's some notification clauses that if something becomes defective or equipment is defective, that they'll notify city staff. Yeah, and so it really is a pretty simple agreement. I guess I'll take any questions if you guys have them, but it's basically just for using our city equipment on those weekends where they might want to help out. And it's just a liability thing more than anything.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Any questions or concerns?
Seems great.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious if there are any age restrictions or anything involving.
It does say 18 years old
Yeah,
or
it does
older.
say.
So I just want to make
Yep.
sure. Oh, there it is. Yep. Okay.
I think the other part of this, and when we had this discussion, It also is, I think it helps the city out in a way that, so for instance, a week before a tournament, if you have one or two people go down with an injury or are sick, we will gather people and come in and spend, a few days or whatever is needed to, weed whip or do whatever's necessary to help get the park, the fields in order prior to the tournaments. The other part of that is, this is a great year to try this. We turned away several tournaments this year. We have Babe Ruth that wants to come and do regional tournaments here at different age groups. And Mayas, who actually wanted to do some, like a Midsummer Classic, which is a huge tournament. You're talking 30 some teams just for that. But we said, let's just put the brakes on for a little bit and make sure that, last year things went well. We want to make sure things go well this year and then start looking at potentially, because one of the things that we haven't done this year that we did, or that we're doing this year that we didn't do last year as the Baseball Association was holding our members accountable for 4 hours of volunteer work, which obviously helps out as far as, running tournaments and not having to pay for excessive city staff. And so we kind of want to see how that goes and then adjust moving forward. And this helps extremely with that. And, so the potential is to get even more tournaments in here if we feel like we can handle it. So, yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
just one thing I noticed when I was scanning through in recital A, it references field strippers. I think that may be field stripers.
No, that's right. Kidding.
You're likely right, Andrew. Unless Troy wants them, I don't know.
That'll be the end of our tournaments. Yes, stripers. Thanks. Nice catch.
Yes, just,
We'll get that
Thank God
changed.
Tim isn't here.
I do have
Katie.
one comment that maybe we should discuss. We received BUBA wanted to have one game on a weekend, and if we have staff that only work Monday through Friday, would this be a situation where, let's say it rains, or let's say people plan on the weekend and then the field's destroyed on a Sunday, but that's when they want to have their game? Is this a situation where this contract could come into use, where they could use the ballpark groomer and groom the game before their game? Is that-
That's the way I see it. I would like to, because they do set up double headers.
Okay.
And there's 6 teams. We almost were able to not turn anyone away this year and allow everyone who tried out by mating a couple age groups together. It just didn't work out, but we're hoping, eventually that'll even be more. So we're kind of hoping that if they have a double header, that would actually take the onus off city staff to say, hey, can you have this ready by Friday? To me, that would be a waste of time, because that team, if they want to do a doubleheader on a Sunday, they come in and they set the field up themselves and then clean it up when they're done. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but it gives them a leeway to have more games without having to worry that staff did a really super job on Friday and then a bunch of kids came in and tore the field up and then it wasn't ready when they got there. That way, the coaches will know that, hey, if you're gonna have a doubleheader, you better get there a couple hours ahead of time and make sure the field's in decent shape. And again, these aren't, we're not talking, AAA Maya's tournaments. I mean,
Right.
so if they just get it cleaned up and throw a little chalk down and, obviously we'll pay, the association will pay for any supplies that's used and.
Yeah, and like if it was at Bain Park, for example, and they would need a key to that shed where the groomer is,
Yes.
they would still need to pay that deposit. So we have kind of at least tracking
I'm glad you brought that up.
that.
Because I don't know if we can add that to this agreement. I don't know, or I don't think we have to. I think we can just talk about it. But there was some discussion about, so if you want to get a key to a field, you have to pay a $25 fee and sign your name. And then by the end of the season, you have to bring that key back. Otherwise, and you have to give a deposit. The $25, and then if you bring it back, you get the check back. The association is great with, however, Kim, you brought up, it kind of helps the security of the fields. My thought was just trying to streamline it where, if we just have one thing for the association and a coach signs his name, and then the association is on the hook for that key versus each individual coach bringing in a deposit check. Because it could be a coach, an assistant coach, it could be a board member on it for a tournament weekend. And then instead of everyone having to give a separate personal check, if we could put it under a list for the association, and then Kim, you had mentioned, then you got to do all the tracking to track them down to try to find it. If you just send us a list, the association a list at the end of the year, of the season, and say, these keys are still out, put that on the association. It's their job to make sure all those keys get back, and if they don't, the association, and I think we only had one board member last year that didn't bring a key back, Mike Eidenschink, but
Katie finally tracked that down, that key. But that's the issue, in my mind, is the security of our facilities. If we have 30 keys going out, we want to know who's got them.
Yeah, I would say the list and just tracking who has a key and filing the deposit, X many people times 25. You guys file the deposit. If you bring all of them back, you get the whole shebang back. If you give back 3/4 of them, you get whatever back.
yeah, and then they still have to sign. I mean, the
Yep.
individual still has to sign.
We don't have them sign anything. We write their name and information on a checkout list. That's all we've ever done. Because
That's perfect. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're talking about the same thing.
association
Just
can
as long as they
list
have a
the
list
names
of
they
the
want to
people
have
that
keys,
have
they come and get
keys,
their
I think that's
key.
all we need.
But my main concern is we want the keys back. We don't want them out
No,
floating
I get that.
around because many of those keys open multiple facilities throughout the city. So that's, it's a security thing. I don't care who's got them or how many, but if we give 30 out, we want 30 back. And
And
that's,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, if that streamlines things for you, and you don't have to, that puts the onus on the association, because, eventually, I'm not gonna be with them either, I'm just saying.
it does,
I
but
think
it
they're
also
pretty
takes the
responsible.
onus off of those individual coaches. Why, they might not be as concerned about getting the key back if you guys are just gonna pay the $25.
Oh, no, we'll recoup it from them. We won't just pay it, they will recoup the association if they don't bring the key back, and I think that's what I put in my emails, but that still puts it on, we'll make sure that we get our money.
I've been
if
signing
we
out
have to
keys for
pay.
a long time, and coaches are notorious for not bringing them back, and I call, and I email, I send letters. It's a lot of,
Sounds like the 225 needs to be changed to 250.
well, it's just a lot, it's a lot of
Increase the
extra,
price.
follow-up to get keys back. I'm getting keys back in January.
Well, you could also say, it's free to take the key, but if it doesn't come back, it's $250 to relock whatever, to redo the locks.
We could hang an entire base off of the key, like the restroom key with just a whole base. Make it real uncomfortable.
I think we can work through the key thing. I think that's way down in the weeds on what we're.
I do have a question though. Could you walk me through the process for like a weekend? What does that look like from staff side of things so that what does the communication look like on the event that we have something going on the weekend?
So we usually coordinate that before the season even begins. Like, okay, what are your tournament weekends? How many staff do you want available? We did that last year with you and Steve, and it went pretty well that way. And then if it's just basically we'll still have a staff person available. It's just that help between games. If we have one person doing, 3-4 fields and stuff happens, then, you're running around having that one person. This just helps move that along faster.
So we do have one city employee at least.
Yeah, on those
Okay,
tournament
that's my-
weekends, we typically have someone.
That's my main
one or two field maintenance workers, depending on how many games.
And now we'll be able to let coaches run the equipment also.
And that's totally fine. I fully support that. I just want to make sure that we, as a city, have some kind of communication as to when things
And
are
we've
actually
already had
happening.
that for this year, we've already. met.
perfect.
We actually figured out what times our tournaments were before the end of the year, last year. So, and then we met and discussed, and basically, we're not changing anything from last year
Perfect.
as far as staff needs, but, okay. All right. Well, there, I muddied the waters. I'm good at that. Any further discussion? None being heard, do we have anyone who would like to make a motion on this recommendation?
I can make a motion to approve these contracts, these agreements.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second shape?
Motion and second. Any other discussion? None being heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you guys for getting that drawn up. Good. And move on to the approved Kiwanis Park Master Plan. Is this Director Sandy?
Yeah, I really don't have much to say about this one, Mr. Chair. This is the stuff that was discussed at the last workshop. The renderings in your packet. Just be kind of looking for that formal approval like we've done on other ones.
I think all four of us were at that last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Motion
Kiwanis master plan.
to approve the Kiwanis Master Plan. Do we have a second?
Second, Jaeger. I don't know, second my own plan. Thanks, Andrew. That's all right.
I just had a thing I wanted to discuss. I know we have our friend from the Kiwanis Club here. Is there any input you wanted to add or offer? Okay, cool. Sorry, I would have seconded.
Oh, it's okay.
I knew I couldn't interject, but yeah.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. And motion carries. Thanks, Kevin, for drawing that up.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, next item on the agenda is the approved Civic Rec software purchase. Again, Director Sandy.
I'll take this on, but the three people that are going to be most involved with this are also in this room, Lori, Kim, and Katie, so I want them to chime in on this. So this all kind of started back, since I've, stepped into the park world, we've been having issues with our current software provider, and that is ActiveNet. The biggest issue, we have some customer service issues with them, and we also have not paid them for a very long amount of time. They haven't billed us. We've called them, tried to get billed for what we should be billed for, which is $4,000 a year. We have not been able to get that corrected, though many staff hours have been taken trying to get that resolved. So this kind of stemmed from that and just some of the issues we've had over time. We kind of started looking around at different software options, and this one kind of bubbled to the surface because we do have our current city website, which is called Civic Plus. This is called Civic Rec, and it is a parks and recreation software. It handles reservations, concessions, bringing in accounts payable, all that type of stuff, receivable, concessions, inventory, that kind of stuff. And what we're kind of asking for approval of from you all today is that we would like to begin the process of switching our software providers based on the issues we've had. Our renewal date of ActiveNet is 9/1/2022. There's a 60-day out period with ActiveNet to get out of the contract with them. Otherwise, it automatically renews the next year. So we've seen this software. We've demoed it and really dug into it. And Lori is here too, and she would be part of the implementation team from IT side. Very, very functional software. I'll let you guys speak to this because this is completely out of my wheelhouse, but we would just like to start this process now because by the time, if it's approved, by the time that 9/1 date comes around, we would want to have this in place to take over that other software. So we would need to start like right now with the discovery period and implementation of this new software. and training so that by the time 9/1 comes around, ActiveNet goes away, we lose functionality, and Civic Rec is our new program. And so Katie, Kim, you guys sat in on the demos, reviewed the software. I think you guys are very, very impressed with it. It does cost us a little more. Obviously, that first year is the implementation year, which is the $13,635. However, we've saved some money from not paying ActiveNet, around $6,000 over the past couple of years. And then each year is a little more. So it's about 60, I believe it was 6,000. The annual recurring cost, I believe, was right in that 6,200 range. And so it is a little bit more. However, there's a lot more functionality that I think city staff would really appreciate, such as the concession inventory, payments online, so implementing credit card machines through that software. It's all the city website, so it all looks the same. It all feels like the city website. And so there's a lot of benefits to this and just not a lot. We're not impressed with ActiveNet. We've had it for a very long time. Their customer service stinks. They're just not very fun to work with. So that's what I have. I'll let any of you guys talk. Kim or Katie? Kim? I know you have your thoughts.
Let's see, 19 years of ActiveNet, so yeah, it's run its course, and there's been issues. I can't get things in the software resolved. You know, I deal with their support, and I just can't get things to work in the software the way it should.
The fact of the matter that we can't get them to bill us
And
is enough in itself to say that.
and you know, in that $4,000 a year, you guys, that was negotiated back in 2003. So obviously, current software is going to cost a lot more than the contract that so I liked the look of it. I liked how it interacts with our website stuff. So.
Katie, do you have any input?
I would just like to see something happen sooner than later so we can get credit cards at the concession stands. This would talk to that, so I'm excited.
Okay, so for me, I'll just jump right in here. You know, 4,000 versus, you know, it's $2,300 more a year. This 13,000, does that include the training that goes, that's, so, and so obviously user-friendly is huge. And so, I mean, if we're seeing, even if you think direct benefits in cost, in labor, that would help, you know, alleviate the $2,300 more per year in cost to run this stuff, you know, I think it's kind of a no-brainer. However, you know, if ActiveNet wants to keep us alive for another 20 years for free, I mean, you know.
We gave up.
We gave up. I spent 8 hours on the phone over like a couple weeks, and I think Kim probably spent.
I've got emails, I've got a packet.
That's crazy.
I would just say that with this issue of the communication happening and us trying to advance and move forward, that's where our struggle is. Like with the campground, if we want to try and do stuff online, if we can't get a hold of people, that's kind of an issue moving forward. So I would see that as a selling point also.
And this company strictly works with government, which is a bonus also.
The new one you're talking about. Which government? Not the Russian government.
From 2003. I think inflation's more than that.
Any other comments up here? Questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Ms. Shipe.
Are we going to use their payment processor, or do we have one through Heartland or Authorize, or?
Yes, they have a payment, their own providers.
cool.
We can pick from certain ones. There are some that they recommend over others, but yeah, it runs through their provider.
Awesome. Are they going to import any of our ActiveNet data, or is that a
I
nightmare?
would assume we will be able to. With most softwares, you can. We haven't gotten to that part of it yet, but yeah, we'll import a certain number of years, depending on how far back they actually want to go.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't see that in the quote, so I was I wasn't sure if it was impossible to get it out or.
It depends on if we can get a hold of Active to do it.
I suppose that's the real challenge. Cool. Just one last comment. I work for a company that does very similar things, and I saw a couple milestones in the project around your GL code import and things, and I would strongly suggest if you can have Finance Director Hillman involved as necessary, it really, really goes a lot better. So, just from experience of similar things.
She's really tired of software conversions, so you'll love to see this come across your plate.
Tell her it was Kevin's idea, though.
Kevin who?
Mr. Yeager.
Mr. Chair, thank you. So this seems like a no-brainer to me. I have just a couple quick questions. The original 13 grand to come up with this, what fund are we hoping to extract that out of?
It would just be out of the budget that we program for professional services, which is what ActiveNet comes out of. We would be over budget in that category.
Understood. The only other thing I want to say to this is I would like to ask staff what the math might look like to pay for this $6,000 a year on credit card charges at our concession stands. And my thinking here is that the $6,000 spread over hundreds of transactions over an entire summer would be easily obtainable if we just had a little sign that said, you get a surcharge of this if you use a credit card. Boom, the $6,000 I think could be gone instantly. We could pay for it just with that alone. So I'd just like staff to just look at what the math might look like on all of kind of what we sell, and then just come back to us. That's not pending the approval of this. I don't want that to happen, but it would be potentially a quick change on our summer 2022 pricing structure, potentially for credit card transactions at all of our concessions. That's the only thing I would say. I think there's a way here to get this paid for by hot dog buyers, and bubblegum buyers, not taxpayers of Brainerd, but
Yeah, it is a very good idea. I mean, it might be a very small surcharge. I know the credit card processor will likely have something, like 3.5% usually or something like that.
Any other comments or concerns?
These guys asked, they asked my questions already, but yeah, the credit card thing, it does say in here that there's gonna be extra money added, so I would just be curious. But of course, I wanna approve this today, but I would be curious to know for the future how much it will be, because if we're already paying a certain amount each year, like how much more will it be with the new system? But we can always upgrade or upcharge that too, like Kevin said. Otherwise, I think it looks awesome. You guys can do emails in there. Like, it looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun to dig in. I think it would be fun to dig in.
And I really want to say, I do love the creative math of how this is actually a savings only because we weren't technically being billed by the other company. That deserves some merit of how that is actually a savings. But I love that. That's good. I like it.
I would assume that when you ask them to cancel, that bill's probably going to show up.
Get a letter. Yeah, exactly.
There's gotta be a limit on that, though.
gotta
I mean, I'm gonna fight that tooth and nail, because you haven't billed us that quarter. I mean, it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
No, we don't have the budget anymore.
Any further discussion? None being heard, do we have a motion?
Move to approve the purchase and implementation agreement.
We have a motion by Mr. Scheib,
I'll second that.
second by Ms. Schaefer. Mrs. Schaefer. Any further discussion? None being heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. You guys have new software. Motion carries. Cool. I would just say also, just see if you can't get in the contract where they don't charge us either. That would be cool. Just write that in small print.
See you, buddy.
I was kind of hoping to retire before having to go through learning another.
We're gonna get all that historical knowledge from you, Kim. Brain dump into the software.
What are you going to do with all your extra time
As
now,
far as the
Kim?
database,
This is
though,
going to be so much more efficient.
that's not that big of a deal. I mean, yeah, it's nice.
Campground rentals, surveys, that looks really cool.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the public work. Approve Hubbard radio advertising request. Katie Kaufman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I spoke with Hubbard Radio's account executive, Greg Ziegler, event manager, Kim Rollins, and market manager, Jeff Hilborn, a month and a half ago or so, and about how they could be involved with the last dance of summer and how we can have a better relationship with the radio as far as giving more publicity to our special events and then growing our special events. Greg suggested we kind of come up with a number that we feel comfortable with, and then he would give us a quote for what he could do for that number. Spoke with Paul, and he said this would be a doable thing for what we're getting. So we suggested $2,000, and attached is the advertising recommendation and what we would get, the promotional summary. So that's just a write-up of what we would potentially get for all of that. And then the 3-hour live remote with the power loon, they would actually be, I think, present at the event during that time, like noon to 3 p.m. So having them there also. I know the $2,000 does seem pretty large for one special event, but we could potentially recoup that money through sponsorships or even charging people to go to the movie in the park, or we could potentially take profit from concessions. We could upcharge a little bit on our tournament admission as far as the pickleball tournament, the softball tournament, the grass volleyball tournament, all happening at the same time. There's a lot of different avenues where we could maybe stream through that cost and be able to afford it, but I am requesting that we accept the Hubbard Radio advertising recommendation, and then we move forward with paying them $2,000 with the timeline that they have enclosed. I guess, is there any questions? As far as our budget for special events, I will say that right now our expense or our operating is $2,000, and then our revenue is only $1,000, and that's what we're expected to like receive in donations and stuff like that. But we'll probably surpass that this year, and then $2,000. That's for any type of like blow-ups or all that kind of stuff that we would use. Yeah. Any questions? Any discussion?
Board members? Yep. Karen.
So what are you going to have him or her talk about for the 3 hours being live? Like, are they going to be announcing? Like, what are you thinking for that part of it?
I'm hoping that it's kind of an interactive. They would be present right next to the pickleball area, and then we're going to have a 3-on-3 basketball that the YMCA is going to be running at the same time. I was hoping like during that time, they'll be right there by the splash pad and just kind of interacting with the crowd. I don't think he'd be paid to announce the event exactly, but like taking people off to the side, explaining like, hey, we're here, this is what's happening, come out to Memorial Park. It'd be like that. That's kind of how I envision it.
Would they like run the music at the event too? So
They would have-
play their music and then
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. Yep. They would have have you been to the county fair where they have their own little booth there and then there's music, or even at BIR, I think the JCs borrow that portable station and there's like music blaring out of it. I think it's going to be like that.
kind of like an MC for an event, more or less that.
A little bit, yeah. Not an exact MC, but yeah.
That includes commercials and all that running up to it also, in the weeks prior.
Yeah.
And just to point out, the last dance of summer is 16 weeks away from today.
Holy cow.
That's all.
Let's not fast forward summer
We haven't
too
even
quick
got to
here.
summer yet.
Yeah.
We haven't opened registration at all because of how depressing that sounds.
Depressing.
Pretty grim.
Wow.
So our focus here is to get as many people to this event as possible.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And that's why we're asking for
Yes. It is
radio
that
time,
partnership.
advertising time.
This could be a trial. if it works, we see a huge boom in our numbers. Maybe next year we expand it to, a lot of different events, like the Great Pumpkin Festival. But this would be like our first step into a different direction of marketing, because right now, social media, people are unfollowing things. You're getting a little less hits on social media right now. People are kind of turning off that. So I'm trying to explore different avenues of marketing.
Is there anything at that event that the parks charge for? I mean, do we sell concessions?
Yeah, we'll be having
or-
concessions for sure. We're going to be having the food trucks there. It's definitely more of a partnership. We'll have the registrations for all the tournaments, and then we can mark that up as needed. And then we'll have the movie in the park, which will be my next discussion item on how we want to do that. Whether we sell like $1 admission or we sell popcorn at that goes specifically to the special events. And then, we can definitely raise money, create sponsorships. Like if we want to have a lot of blow-ups, what?
Sell banners.
Sell banners. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, at this event, because there's a lot of diverse, different types of things happening throughout the park.
So what's going to be our best tracker for how effective this is? Is it number of people? I mean,
Yeah, we'll be able to definitely estimate number of people just based on registrations. I mean, for a softball team, 12 people, usually bring an extra person, that's double. And then, we've got the pickleball, we'll have the number of registrations for that. We'll have the numbers from the YMCA for the 3-on-3 tournament. The skate park, we can definitely have someone, because I have my special event assistant also going to be there at the same time. So yeah, head count, clickers, etc. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see 500 people for just the movie in the park part. So, and that's just one element.
Andrew,
Yeah, just that I've worked with Kim and Ken and Tess to do some outreach for the Walk to End Alzheimer's, and they've done a great job. They've made a huge impact on getting people excited and aware of the event. So I think this would be great. They have I think it's the same trailer. They had it out for the walk last year. It's great having sound. They weren't really broadcasting, but I think that would be really nice too. Yeah, I totally on board. I think it'd be great.
When they register, can you ask them where they learned about this event? Like when they register, for the people that you're taking registrations from? So like pickleball tournament and that kind of stuff?
Current software, I believe we can do custom questions. So there's that, but then also we'll be working with, the skate park association, and then also the YMCA. So we need to be having that communication with those groups as well.
It'd be nice to see then if they heard about it on the radio, that would answer your question. Like if it was worth the money for that, for getting people.
and then bystanders, obviously, people who just want to come and enjoy the festivities. Okay, any other discussion, concerns, questions? I'm being heard. Does somebody want to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the Hubbard Radio advertising request as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion,
Second shape.
second by Andrew. Any further discussion? None being heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Good work, exciting. Hopefully, the park will be full. Should
Yes.
be.
It will be, as long as it's good weather. Don't
You know,
Not like today.
It'll be warmed up by then, yeah.
you know, if we get
Maybe above
55,
50 would be nice,
55 would be nice.
at least for the splash pad.
All right, well, we will just stay with you, Katie, and move on to a discussion on the movie in the park.
Yes. Okay. So this was presented, the movie in the park concept, as part of the Last Dance of Summer. It would be inside the Mills Park Stadium there. And it'd be just an alternate use trial to see if that's a good location for a movie in the park. Being so, I wanted to research what it would cost, and there's like one place in the 4-state region that does like an inflatable huge, and it's expensive. I mean, they drive from Iowa or something here, and we pay for the gas, we pay for the projector, we pay for the giant inflatable thing, it's a lot. So it's over $1,500 just for a one-time thing. My discussion with you today is, do we want, actually it was suggested by Paul, I want to give him some credit, to see if we could do something in-house that is equal to or better, and a better situation for us moving on if we want to continue to do movies in the park. So something that was brought to me today, Kara sent me an email after seeing this. It's not attached, but someone in Cross Lake said they started off with like a giant plywood surface, and then they hung a sheet over it as a possible screen. And then we have projectors in-house that we could utilize potentially. And the only huge cost, and I think it will be, depending on the movie and how current it is the copyright, to be able to show that to the public, and then potentially even ask money, like $1 or something. But that's something I'd like to investigate to provide to you guys, cost-wise, if that would be realistic. And I just wanted, before I invested time in researching what it would cost, if that's a direction you guys want to go, is seeing a price in-house, what we could make and do versus what the one-time be. So I guess I would like to hear some discussion regarding that.
No, I don't, we can discuss it, but I don't think we even need a motion on this if we can say, Katie, go do some more research and tell us what this looks like further.
Okay.
But you guys, any comments? Sarah?
I just reached out to Cindy at the Cross Lake Chamber. That's the email that I forwarded Katie. And I would just say, reach out to her, and because she can connect you with it's like the U.S. Army Corp or something that puts on the movies in the park up there. And they did it for quite a few years before they purchased something. And they had, if you've ever been to it, I mean, it works out great. It's right in that town square, and it looked great. So I don't know exactly how it would work in the stadium, but I would reach out to someone local that's been doing it and see. So,
Yeah. Okay. So as far as timeline goes, next park board meeting, I come to you guys with a dollar amount of what it would cost, and then I would look to get that approved potentially to start building, because we only have 4 months before this event-ish. So it would be like that. So just so you guys are aware.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I wonder too if it's even something we could rent out. Right, a group wants to have a banquet in Gregory Park. We can set up a screen and a projector for them. Maybe not Gregory, I don't know. But
It might depend on the projector, like where it's owned in the city. I don't know liability-wise, but
Something we could research, I mean.
yeah.
yeah, just to be able to use it a little
Yeah,
more,
I would
but-
like to be able to use it more than once a summer eventually, but obviously this would be trial. So. And it could be different locations. I know that Gregory Park is a very good location for a movie in the park, potentially. It's not a lot of grass.
MLT, the new park.
Yeah,
Amphitheater.
yeah, and having the
Oh,
amphitheater, yeah.
The whole
So,
amphitheater.
yeah, a natural stage. So,
Yeah, that could be just a.
Grand opening showing of something.
Porky's. No, the first movie's got to be Goonies, right? It's got to be Goonies, right? Let's vote on that right now. Okay, so just real quick, I know that the Woods does a drive-in, and
Yes.
they have an inflatable one. I don't know
Yes.
what that looks like, but it's an
that's
inflatable
similar
one.
to what I got a quote for.
Okay, got it. And I could be a little fuzzy on this, but I think that there are some movies that are royalty-free if you don't charge to show them. So if this is a free event, some of the royalty, there may be something different in the royalties. And the only other thing is that Sunset, I just looked, is at like 8:30-ish that time. So you're beginning to showing it around 9-ish, something like that. So it's not terrible. You know, you'd be out of there by 10:30, 11. But just be aware, we'd be potentially over our
Right.
self-imposed curfew in
Yes.
our parks. So,
Yeah.
but I love the idea. I think it's killer. Yeah. Oh, provided that it's Goonies.
Well, it seems like a great opportunity to sell concessions too. Maybe
Yes.
to defray some of the
Yep.
rental costs too.
Yes, that's definitely the intent. And just to mention, I mean, the special event actual fund is not very much, and that's where we'd be spending this money to make this, so we will be most likely over in that category, in that
We're gonna make it back.
budget. Yes, but just to be aware. See that.
CLC they did movies last year too. I just don't know what they used. If anyone, I mean, I could ask them, I don't know who I'd ask, but could reach out to them too and find out what they use for their movies outside. They might have just broadcast it in the building though, but they had to
I think
use
it was
something.
in the building, wasn't it?
I thought it was outside,
Okay.
because it was like a COVID thing.
They have a
Yeah.
little stage back there on the backside. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of potential. So if you could come back with some numbers on some of that. The other part is too, you know, you could look at possibly getting a screen frame donated.
We have 500 grand.
I'm
I'm
looking-
wondering if a retractable outdoor screen fits into the scope of work at MLT, the building, for educational purposes.
That could be
I think
moved.
it's a
Obviously.
great idea.
It's certainly in the teaching center.
Yeah. So,
That's item number 1 on the request list.
yeah.
We could just put it in there and sneak it through.
That would be awesome.
Correct. And a projector.
Oh, yeah.
So
I look at the river, we can have a giant screen.
makes your job a little easier. All right.
Make
great
that
idea.
450 grand.
So, yeah, so I don't think we need a motion for this, correct? We can, we'll just wait to hear from you. Thank you. And with that being said, that moves us into, get there, I'll get there.
I think we're at reports.
City admin
City
report.
admin report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So a couple of things. As you know, David Chansky has resigned, and he is, as of yesterday, the new city administrator for the city of Breezy Point. We do have a posting up for the community development director. We are planning on having interviews on May 24th, and it is our hope that we will have somebody on board in David's position by August 1st. Likewise, we also received Paul Sandy's resignation. He will be going to WSB. His last day with us as a city employee will be May 6th. But we also have an agreement going to the city council on Monday night to have an agreement with WSB, which is where Paul is going, for a engineering services for the interim period between when Paul leaves and when we replace Paul's position. So Paul is going to WSB, and WSB has agreed to allow Paul to work for the city of Brainerd with a WSB hat on. So we are super excited that we'll at least be able to have that continuity here in the next couple of months. And also WSB, has the MLT park and other projects, so we'll be working with Paul in the future as well. So he's leaving, but not too far. I don't have a whole lot. I guess one thing, the city will be purchasing the Roberts land, which is the gravel pit above the water storage tanks where they are right now. Beautiful vista. They're going to use some of that land for what they need, what BPU needs for water storage, and I think also a wellhead.
Storage, this is wellhead protection.
Wellhead protection, but then some discussion about, is there something else for that land? Is there a way that we can use some of it for development? So that's coming up. Besides that, I don't know a whole lot that is park related that is on my plate. I'm sure Paul has more to talk about. Katie.
Oh, I was just, you kind of gave a timeline with David Chansky's hire and all that. Could you give kind of a timeline of what you're thinking for this position?
Yep, so the council will hopefully on Monday night authorize the posting of Paul's position. We don't have interview dates set yet. But we do hope to have somebody on board by September 1st. Similar timeline to David's, just a month later. Any questions of me? Sure,
So with Katie's position, can you hear me?
I can.
So, is Paul gonna be contracted to do this work with the city with WSB and like help Katie, or will there be some support like that for all these events and everything this summer?
So one of the things that I've been asked to do by the council is put together kind of a list of all the projects that are going on, both that Paul and David has.
That'll be easy, short.
Oh, yeah.
Started it, and kind of some projects that are green light, red light, yellow lighted. I believe that parks, you'll have a minimal role. It'll probably be more with the projects than of park board agenda and so on and so forth. I think a lot of that's going to fall to Katie and Kim. I will be here at every park board meeting. We have another week and a half yet to kind of talk this through with Paul. But yeah, I think it's going to be a team effort.
Basically, all my supervisors will take on their respective tasks. I have a supervisor in every department, basically. So engineering has the assistant engineer. We have Katie in parks. We have Troy in parks maintenance. We have Sean in street maintenance. We have Andy in transit. So each of those are taking little bites of this as a whole to kind of cover, at least keep the wheels on the bus. And that's, I think, just the whole, across the whole department. And I really don't do a whole lot, so I think everyone's going to be able to know.
Yeah, that'll be an easy one, I think.
Which every item here, Paul Sandy.
First, probably.
No.
Any other questions? Anyone?
Is that the end of staff reports? No. Okay. Oh, sorry. Got it.
And I apologize, I do have to leave, so I'm gonna make my report and leave. So
Thank you, Jennifer.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And so we'll move on to city engineer and recreation coordinator reports.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, I will start with adult softball. Due to the weather last Saturday, we had to cancel the early bird. Those teams are being refunded. Sad, but it was the safe thing to do. As far as our current registrations spread, women's, we have 10 teams, MS2 12, MS1 9, and co-ed 13. Masters, we will probably have to cancel this year. I'm in some conversation with the masters teams, but so far no interest in any problem solving or whether they want to take back Fridays. There's only one team that's really communicating with me, so that'll probably stand as canceled. We are pushing, we were supposed to start tonight, but we're pushing the men's league starting next week. And then proceeding women's and co-ed will be May 16th that week. Special events, our Brainerd Easter egg hunt went really well. We had just over 400 children, attracting a minimum of 800 people into our park that Saturday, April 16th. I wanted to highlight the volunteerism as well as the monetary support of the Brainerd Rotary Club. They are so instrumental to the event, between filling the candy bags and helping keeping everyone in order. It's amazing what great volunteers can add to an event. Sullivan Candy Supply does a matching grant for you that maybe didn't know this. So Rotary donates $600 worth of towards candy, and then Sullivan Candy matches that donation. So we got $1,200 worth of candy. So that's a lot of candy. And then also new this year, for one time only, the Northern Pacific Center was there and gave away 8 bikes, which was 2 for each age group, which was a great special touch this year. A lot of kids were happy about that. Easter ball, we actually had a pretty large amount of people that came out for that, surprisingly. We hit about 150 balls. I think all of them were returned. So, but the champion dog collector was 24 balls. And as far as Pampered Pets, they donate gift certificates. So the winner of the tennis ball retriever, they get $25 toward Pampered Pets. So
What kind of dog was it?
I believe it was like a chocolate lab, I think, or it was that, or it was a doodle. I don't. Who knows? It might have been a kid just walking with it, but just kidding. No. But Earth Day collaboration with the Brainerd Arboretum and Northland Arboretum went really well. We cleaned up Rotary Park, Buster Park, Kiwanis, Gregory, and so that went really well. A lot of pictures were floating around online from the Arboretum that we were tagged in. Arbor Day, in case you didn't know, I did not do my Arbor Day event this year, but we're still having a presence at the Arbor Day event at the Arboretum. I'm having the Brainerd Garden Club hand out pumpkin seeds, to which they will give instructions, and then there's a little pamphlet explaining like to grow the pumpkin, and then we're gonna have a judging contest or like a growing pumpkin contest at the Great Pumpkin Festival because it fits. So hopefully we have a good turnout there, and it's kind of like a 4-H show, blue ribbons, etc. at the Great Pumpkin Festival. But I thought it was a really good addition. And then we are now involved with One Vegetable, One Community, and they have agreed, or tentatively agreed, to serve pickles and cucumber water, because the vegetable is the cucumber this year, at the last dance of summer. So we'll get the nice benefits of rehab of our muscles at the last dance of summer. And then next, the fishing clinic. So May 21st, so if you're unfamiliar with this event, it's where we have children ages 4 to 12 in Lum Park. We start the day with learning stations. We teach them how to tie knots, cast, life jacket, type safety lessons, and then we segue to lunch, and then we have a fishing contest where the prizes and then are given, and then participant bags are handed out. And in the participant bags, we have like their free little kit of tackle that we get a lot of that money donated by local places, like the Walleye Alliance donates towards that, so we can go out and purchase some beginner tackle sets for children. So that's just a nice little switch up of a special event for us. Banners, I'll be hanging those this week, hopefully maybe tomorrow. It's a little bit just be nicer tomorrow. So we'll start hanging those, start following up with people regarding the quality of their banners from years past, whether they need to get new ones or not. And then concessions, we just did our first order last week in prep for this week, but it actually worked out really well that we moved everything to get our concession stands ready. So yeah. That's all I have for my report.
Thank you, Katie.
She's got a lot of stuff going on.
So I just have one recommendation for that, that cucumber water.
Yeah.
I think a good mix with that, let's get ahold of Von Hansen's and see if they'll donate some wiener water.
Some what?
with that.
I thought you were gonna say Hendrix.
Pickle juice?
I love it.
Okay.
Good thing it wasn't the asparagus. Asparagus water just.
Oh, yeah, that would be gross.
I'll just make you, changes the color of your urine. All right, thank you very much.
I'll keep it brief, Mr. Chair. So you recall back, I don't know, a couple months ago, we applied for that SPRA grant for Lum Park Road. That was approved, so we did receive $143,000 in funding for that project, which is exciting. And so I'll be moving forward with the city council and getting, my recommendation is going to be to go out and hire a consultant to do that work, most likely with Seth. They did the application for us, things like that. So that'll be on the docket for the city council coming up here. And I'm going to make a recommendation to have them work with you all, with Seth, on the design of the road, trail, where kind of things go there with that grant. So that is something that will be on the docket here, most likely for next summer construction. So that's exciting. Kiwanis Park, Travis Miller is sending out those plans for the Kiwanis Park improvements and all that. We've approved kind of the master plan. We know those buildings will be in place long-term. The scope that you guys kind of approved will be out to a few select contractors that we're inviting to bid. our local builders. Travis said that the locals might be a little bit busy right now, so he doesn't have some other smaller contractors that might be looking for work that this might suit them pretty well. So he'll be sending that out here and getting something back. We've been working with Emily on the splash pad. She has her event coming up here in May. We're still trying to coordinate the installation of that column, the donor column, and the paver patio that goes around it. High Tech, I did email them today. They're trying to get it in as soon as possible. They're still running into frost in areas. The weather hasn't been cooperating. It's just been kind of a nightmare for that, any type of work outside. But he did, say that he will get it as soon as they can. And so that is still on their plate. I've listed all the maintenance tasks that we did. A lot of work just getting things turned back on, energized, water. We've been kind of careful on the water situation and turning things on yet because it's been so cold. However, they've been doing, kind of their spring cleanups, putting all the trash receptacles out, blowing off the tennis courts, getting the pickleball nets put up, basketball hoops up at Memorial. Those are very popular. Troy said he sees people out there every day playing basketball. So, so they're very, very busy right now in the Parks Department, but that's a good thing. That means spring is here. As Jennifer said, my last working day with the city will be next week, Friday. Just want to say to you guys, it's been really a pleasure working with you all. It's been an exciting time with the park board, and you guys are really, making, I think, a lot of great decisions for the long term of the parks. And to you guys, it's been really, really good working with everyone. So I'm going to miss my time here. That's not to say that I won't have time with you guys in the future. Hopefully the city and WSP can continue a relationship and move forward that way. So I thank you all for, taking me in and this transition that took place over the last year and a half. It's been really, really, really good. So just thank you all for that.
I would just like to add, thank you. You came in during our transition, and it's been a pleasure working with you, and obviously Katie and Kim, but I think you've made this transition go a lot smoother than it could otherwise, and I think I probably speak for the whole board in just saying we hate to see you go, and it has been a pleasure working with you as well. Appreciate
that.
all that
Thank
you've
you.
done.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I had a couple boring questions. Did we ask for a certain amount with the State Park Road? I forget.
143. Yeah, we asked for that amount. Yep.
Neat.
So that funds hopefully the whole road construction. Price volatility we might have some to cover from the construction fund, but that doesn't pay for engineering or anything. So that'll just be the construction cost.
I can't imagine the price of oil changing anytime. Yeah, no reason. And then some of the vandalism, have the cameras still been helping kind of identify at least who did those?
The Gregory Park, we've caught a few people. Hopefully the stuff, so it's funny you say that, I just got a police report for the College Drive Bridge. That is our number one spot. Sean Strong in our IT department, we've been working on getting a camera put down there. We have some money set aside for that in our capital plan. Hopefully that one is the one that really catches everyone. And Kiwanis Park he's also working on Kiwanis. So yes, they work well. The police department does have a live stream if it works down at the police department. But hopefully over time, if we can get a hard wire into the park, that would be very beneficial from an internet availability standpoint. I think the air cards work, but intermittently. That's just not the best situation, but it works. It's recorded locally too, so you can always go over there, but it's nice having it live so that you can go over there and bust them while they're in the act. So, but yeah, the vandalism is down, I would say, with the buildings that have cameras in them, and if someone does do something, we're able to hopefully catch them. That gives us that opportunity.
Cool. And then just to echo Troy's comments, I haven't been here as long as anyone else, but seeing everything you've done to get us in great shape. I think I didn't understand it at the time, but the 30-year capital plan in particular, I think is really going to set us up. So thank you for everything.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, so, I just want to echo, it's just a catastrophic, I just feels like a catastrophic loss, to be perfectly honest, losing you, Mr. Sandy. I mean, this transition, as you spoke to, Mr. Chair, could have gone a lot of different ways, depending upon, how the leadership on both sides really reacted to all of this, and all the team players involved. And you're a critical part of that. WSB should be over the moon, because they're getting an outstanding individual, and I hope to work with you in years and decades to come. I have not one single bad thing to say about you, Mr. Sandy, and thank you so much for all your contributions and taking calls after hours, all the stuff that goes along with that. That also leads into, Kim and Katie over the last year and a half. I mean, it really does feel like this is a completely changed Parks Department, and I just think that we have something really healthy and happy going on here. It feels that way from my side, and I'd like to thank both of you for your contributions as well, and sticking it out, because there was a time when I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say we're all just kind of, wondering how this was going to go, right? But couldn't be happier with you guys. Katie, the Easter egg hunt, what you failed to mention is that it was blistering cold with those numbers. So I just couldn't be happier with what you're doing, Katie, and I'm always excited to see what your report is, because you have the fun stuff that comes up at the end, and just keep it up, doing a fantastic job. I have nothing but good things to say about everybody. So that's all. I'm gushing enough, and I have one more meeting in which I'll probably say something similar to this too, Mr. Sandy, but anyways, thank you. Thank you so much, Paul.
Guys. Any other discussion? None being heard, if somebody would like to make a motion to adjourn to the May 10th meeting, I believe.
So moved, Jaeger.
Second, Chait.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.